am the music god. This is the Noize Report. You know what we do here every week? We record interviews with cool and interesting people of all types, music, movies, pop culture, pretty much anyone that I can con into coming on here. So this week, I am honored to have this gentleman over here. He is the lead singer of a really awesome band. I've intended to have them on much sooner, but we're just getting to it now. This is Mr. Peter Cat. He is the lead singer. I believe you're lead singer, right?
That's me.
Yeah, lead singer of the band Playhouse, Canadian rock band, hard rock band, whatever you want to refer to them to. And we're going to talk about their amazing record and a whole bunch of other stuff. But with that said, let's say hello to Peter, and he'll start by giving a short introduction and tell us a little more about himself to start.
Hey, Detroit, Rock City. We love you out there. Peace. Thanks, Chris, for having us on your show. Like you said, I'm Peter Cat, lead singer of the Canadian legendary rock band Playhouse. So good to be here tonight. And let's get the show on the road, bro.
Yeah. So the record that you guys have out, I just, for those of you that don't know, I did my year-end list, best of the year. Every year I do 6 lists. There's a country and blues, Americana, bluegrass, down home type of music one. There's the hip hop list. There is the modern rock list, the rock list, the metal list, and the granddaddy list, which is the one that started it all way back about 14 years ago. I started doing this. That's the hard rock list. These guys were number 9 on the list this year. It was a loaded list. The lists are always loaded, but this year especially, so many amazing records this year that came out. And the one thing that I will say, let me bring it over here. This is what I wrote for the blurb for this one. I wrote, Canadian rockers Playhouse land with their newest record. It's a rousing collection of tunes that are heavy on emotion and groove. Main part, though, every year there's a record, there's maybe 1 or 2 records, and they kind of come out of nowhere. They're not by huge established bands per se that are pushed by labels and all of that. They kind of come out of nowhere. They kind of hit you upside the head, and just you're kind of, you have that holy shit, this is such a great record. This year, that was your guys' record, man. It was one of them records. When I heard it, it was so catchy and so singable. It was recognizable, I guess, nostalgic in so many places without being a copy of something. You know what I'm saying? Like it didn't copy anything, but it had that nostalgic feel. It had that April Wine, Loverboy, Bryan Adams, Bon Jovi type of vibe where you just, it kind of takes you back to being a teenager and being in the car with the windows down and just singing along to really great rock anthems. And that's kind of what I got from this record.
Thanks, man. You so nailed that. That was a great description of the record itself, and we do all appreciate you, Gordon, taking your time to listen to it, and we feel totally honored to be on that list of 25, especially with some bands like the Dead Daisies and Skid Row.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, we're very grateful to be on the list. Thanks so much. We appreciate it.
Yeah, what a record by Skid Row, man. Like, what a comeback record. Like,
sorry, Baz. They did it, Baz. I'm sorry, but they did it.
You know, like, here's the thing. Like I wrote when on the Skid Row thing, I understand the nostalgic saying of people wanting Sebastian back. But it's been 30 years. And I think the band between Rachel and Dave and those guys have expressed themselves. Look, we've tried. It's not going to work. We're just not on the same page. I get it. Like, if you can't make it work, you just can't make it work. And Sebastian is like, well, there's so much money out there to be made. As a guy that used to play in a band, sometimes it's not worth going through the hassle and the bullshit emotionally to get that money. Like, it just, like, is the money that important if you're dealing with bullshit constantly while getting it? Like, and Eric really is such an amazing singer, man. Like, I get it. Like, I really do. And I've read of the mind. Just move on. Like, let them guys be happy and do what they do. Sebastian will be okay. He's going to continue to piss and moan about every little thing and take cheap shots at people he has no business taking cheap shots at. Taking cheap shots at Chris Jericho because he doesn't like Chris Jericho, and Jericho being a singer and a wrestler. Even though in reality, Jericho would probably kick the shit out of Sebastian in a fight, So I wouldn't be running my mouth too much if I was him. But going back to you guys,
Right.
I guess what you guys were kind of away for a while, right? Between like the beginning and where this came about.
So let me give you the short version. In 1987, literally 5 high school friends started a band, and our one goal was to be as big as Kiss.
Mm-hmm.
And for literally 7.5 years, we toured, released 2 records, opened up for some pretty big bands. We were filling out 2,000 seaters. I mean, in our little country, unsigned band, we were pretty much up there. And then, what happened in 94? We know what happened in 94, but we didn't decide to break up. We just said to ourselves, let's take a cigarette break. And that cigarette break lasted until 2014.
Nice.
When I finally, one day I was playing my guitar and started singing some of the old tunes. So I reached out to the boys, and next thing you know, we're writing some songs. Next thing you know, we're recording 3 songs, doing some videos, and then start rehearsing for a comeback show, which turned into a full-length album.
Nice.
Did that in 2018, the album, The Rock and Roll Circus, and then kept on playing. And then COVID came, and in that time period, we managed to write a new record and get a record deal. So, and here we are on the other end of it.
Nice. One thing I do want to add to everyone listening, I got to give a lot of credit to Corey still for bringing you guys and this record to my attention and sort of, I guess, reintroducing me to what you guys are doing, because it probably would have flown below my radar without him. So huge credit to Corey for doing that.
And Mr. Corey Stills, you're the man.
And also to RFL Records for all that they do for this genre. So many great artists and bands. They are fans themselves of the genre. So it really shows in what they do as a label, I think, and how they handle you artists. So,
funny enough, I won't mention names, but it was through another podcast. And you guys are the real champions here. All you guys doing your podcasts and your stations. And man, without you guys, none of our music would be circulating. We wouldn't have the support. And another gentleman just like you, he's the one who hooked us up with RFL. He thought we were really good. He said, nice. Man, I'm going to pass your stuff over to RFL. And then literally December last year, exactly around this time, they heard the record. It wasn't released yet. and things happened pretty quickly. We signed with them literally like 6 weeks later. I think in February we signed with them, and it's been pretty sweet ride so far. We got a lot of support there. Um, they support all their bands pretty well, and I like to think we're one of their favorites at the moment. So
I love when podcasts and radio shows and different things do stuff like that. Because one thing I've been very vocal about, and it's kind of well known among people, that I am not I'm not in competition with anyone. A lot of people have the mentality of they want to be number one for everything. In me, I have no desire to be number one at something. I want to be, I just want to get you guys out there as artists. I want to get you guys out there as musicians. I don't need the credit. It's simply a matter of, look, if I'm the only person who's talking about you, that doesn't help you. But if I tell another person who tells another person who tells another person, whether it's a podcast or a radio show or whatever, then that's how word spreads. So I love when other artists do it. And, you know, I will support them endlessly. Like, look, and I want all the other podcasts to know, like, look, I'm not in competition with you. I'm next to you. I'm supporting you. I appear on other podcasts. I talk about music and different things. And, you know, I love talking about music. I love music. It's what I do. And, you know, I'm willing to go on any podcast and talk about stuff like this because, you know, this is important. Like, music is so important to me that, you know, it's what drives me, and it's what saved my life on so many occasions.
save so many lives. Yeah.
Yeah. You guys were kind of around at a time. Canada had so many amazing bands that were kind of right on the edge of, you know,
Greatness.
yeah, and kind of the grunge thing come along, and you know, just to name a few, there were you guys, there was this Vangali, there was Funhouse, there was Slick Toxic. There were so many amazing bands that
Flash
you guys had up
Puppets.
there.
I don't know if you heard of those guys, but yeah,
Um,
that was our scene, man.
yeah, and
We all played together. We all hung together. It was good times.
yeah, like, it's just it sucked that, not that I hate grunge because I don't, but it was unfortunate that so many bands that really were amazing bands kind of got pushed aside by it and didn't get, I guess, their fair shot
Sure.
at that. And um, you know, I've never stopped listening. You know, I still listen to those old records. I still listen to bands like Spread Eagle and Warrior Soul. I still listen to Shark Island and Salty Dog and the Demals and shit like that. And when I talk about bands like that, you know, a lot of people are like, who? And it's kind of a, you know, you would know if you were there type of thing. So
I was there, bro.
yeah, that's
I
what
was
I'm
in this
saying.
thing.
Like, you know, it's like saying, if you know, you know. And people that were there, they understand what I'm talking about when I mention bands like Junkyard,
Sure.
when I mention bands like Pretty Boy Floyd, and when I mention bands like Tough and whatnot, bands that are still out there, still doing it, but never really got that brass ring the way they deserved. And um, unfortunately, this is just my opinion, but there were a number of bands that did get that brass ring that I've always thought were completely undeserving of it. But we're not going to mention any names because
Okay.
you know, I don't want to be the asshole, and it's really, I'm not going into that, but I guess give a little bit about this record. There are a couple of songs that have female vocals on it. I think it's track
Million Miles.
Million
I think
Miles. That's
that's
the
the
one.
only one that has a female. Well, there's some backup vocals, but I mean,
Yeah.
to Teacher Girl, there's one, and then we got a rapper on one of the songs too. So
Oh, okay. Maybe that's what I was.
yeah,
Anakin Slade, is that the rapper?
that's correct.
Okay. So the female vocals. Who is it providing the female vocals? And I guess kind of give a little background on that.
Okay, well, I'll make it quick on that one. Okay, so back in 1988,
Nice.
a scrawny guitar guy, very tall, about 3 years younger than us. And back then, when we're 18 and he's 15, that made a big deal, right? Um, he begged to be our guitar tech, and he did become our guitar tech for 4 years. And after we took our cigarette break, he started his own band called Slaves on Dope. And in
Oh,
1999, Ozzy Osbourne and Sharon signed them to their label.
yes, they did.
And they toured with Korn, and they did the Ozfest a few times. And come 2014, when we announced we're starting to write new songs, there comes our guitar tech, Kevin, who's now, kind of famous in our part of the world and is a producer now. He's like, no one's producing you but me. Uh, so he's produced everything we've done since 2015 to now. And he married the most amazing, lovely woman, Elizabeth Lopez Jardine. And, she has a beautiful voice, and she ended up singing uh, on that track with me. But also, she's done backup pretty much on everything we've done in the last 4 or 5 years. So yeah, that's her.
Nice. There's so many songs on this record that from the title track to um Too Old to Die Young.
Right.
There's so many songs in this that just they have that almost Brian Adams ish vibe in the sense of they're they're kind of ear candy in the way like you just you hear them and then an hour later you're sitting there and you're singing the song in your head without even realizing you're doing it because
Right.
it's so damn catchy. The vocals,
Right.
and that's the one thing or one of the things I wanted to talk about. The use of vocals on this record, the way they were recorded, using the kind of I guess everyone singing the group vocals, I guess
Mhm.
is what I'm a better term. Um, is that something you guys do naturally, or is it something that is just kind of part of the sound? Because there's not a lot of bands that you hear a lot of bands do it on the course of the song, but you guys do it kind of throughout the song, and it really just adds a whole nother element to the song. Like it makes it so singable and so catchy that
Right.
it's really kind of what makes the record, man. It just
Right.
takes the songs to the next level.
So it'd be fair to say that's our sound. It's always been our sound. I don't know where it comes from. I guess, you know, collectively we're huge fans of bands like Def Leppard, Bon
Yeah,
Jovi, Queen, especially Queen.
yeah.
Uh,
Oh, how can you not love Queen?
and um, you know, we did it in the '80s, but as we got back together now, because I had recorded and worked with other bands over the years, and I was a producer myself, I learned a lot of things. So moving forward, it's just there, man. You go into the studio and you're like, here's the verse. Hey, let's put a harmony over this line.
Yeah,
And it's definitely not forced. If it's not needed, it's not needed. If it's needed, it's needed. In our case, we just like it. It sounds sweet.
it does. It's like I said, man. It makes these songs so. Like I said, they're so singable. They're so catchy. They're so memorable. I guess for that aspect of it,
Sure.
that I had to run at the last minute to get. So it was my son's birthday today, and I had to run and get
Oh,
candy.
happy birthday.
And as I'm driving to the store, I forgot to take my phone with me, so I didn't have the phone. And I'm sitting in the car and I'm da 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 da. And it's just in my head, and I'm like, God damn, why am I singing that song? I haven't listened to it since like noon, and that's what it's like. It doesn't leave your head, and it's
Yeah, we put a lot of work into that. I I mean, all of us in the band, we just like really catchy things.
yeah,
Our mentality is if I can make 10,000 people remember it opposed to 10, let's
yeah,
go for 10,000. It's definitely not forced. It's who we've always been.
yeah,
So it is natural for us. And we scrutinize a lot of things. We're like, is that catchy? Are
yeah.
they going to remember that? We don't always agree. We're five
Right.
individuals, and sometimes you do need to fight it out.
Yeah,
Um, and our producer is a big part of it as well. We might have big ideas, but he's the one who actually really helps us focus it and put it all into play.
yeah. Because you mentioned Bon Jovi, and it really is a good comparison. Because like on the song "Born to Be My Baby," it's got that type of vibe, I guess, or that type of memorable, or that type of the way you remember it. Uh,
Right.
the opening of "Born to Be My Baby." Na 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 na. It's that same kind of earworm type of song.
Yeah. Well, then we did our job, man. We're
Yeah,
happy
yeah.
to.
This is this is a killer record. For those of you that have not heard this record, it's called "Dancing at Funerals," and it's it's as good of a record as you could possibly record. I mean, it's such a great record. The guitar tones on it are great. The vocals are astronomically good, and the production is great. One of the things I think a lot of bands miss on these days is, with technology being what it is, people build home studios, they produce their own stuff, and that's well and fine if you know what you're doing. But I hear some stuff that it's good stuff, but the production quality is definitely not where it should be, and it hurts the product. Like if you would have taken this to a real producer in a real studio and had somebody maybe just listen to it, to touch it up or to give you advice, it would have elevated it to be even better. And this isn't one of those records. You can tell this was done right. Like this, the sound quality is done really well. The production is done well. The songs flow well. There's not dips in the sound where one song is louder than another song. And that's one of the big things you'll hear is you'll get records where one song will be really loud and then another one where you'll have to like turn your speaker up to hear it the same as the song before that. And that's where that's kind of what I'm getting at when I say the sound quality isn't where it is for some releases. So uh, it's always great to hear a record that is done correctly and professionally. um, so, on that.
Thanks, man.
um, what are, I guess, influence wise? You mentioned Kiss. Who are some of the other bands that kind of made you want to be a rock star? Like who did you hear growing up that just
Me personally, or the band?
just the band overall, even you. I mean,
I'm
just
going to name some names. So, Kiss, The Who, Van Halen, Zeppelin, Hendrix, The Stones, AC/DC, The Eagles,
yeah,
John Cougar Mellencamp, Def Leppard, Sabbath.
yeah,
Dude, we were going to every single show in our town. Oh, Judas Priest. We were all huge Priest fans. Still are. My one of my favorite bands of all time is Iron Maiden. Um, like I listen to Maiden a lot, and I also listen to Metallica a lot. Um, Yeah, so everything we absorb. Obviously, there's other bands like Dawkins
Right.
and Poison and LA Guns and
Yeah.
uh, but as teenagers or young teenagers, young men, those are the bands we listen to, and of course the Beatles, right?
Yeah.
And
Funny
Chuck Berry.
story. The very first show I ever attended,
What
my father took me in 1982. He took me to see Iron Maiden and 38 Special open up for Rainbow.
Wow,
Now, at the
that's
time,
very special. With
yeah, like at the time, it didn't seem crazy. But
no,
as a 50-year-old, I look back at that
yeah,
and I think to myself, God, like that was a crazy pairing of bands
was
because you had a southern rock band, a metal band, and a sort of a progressive band
was
almost, you know.
who was singing for Maiden at the time? Paul,
Um,
or was it Bruce's first run?
it was
What album was it?
um I think it was Number of the Beast, if I remember
Yeah, so it was
correctly,
Bruce
versus first one.
and
It was
Dio on
the
vocals for Sabbath.
who?
Was Dio on vocals for Sabbath?
No, it wasn't Sabbath, it was Rainbow.
Oh, Rain.
Rainbow,
He's
and it was the very first tour they did with Joe Lynn Turner.
nice.
Um, and it was it was an amazing show. I mean, I was 11 years old, so I was very little or young per
Yeah,
se. And my dad is a massive rock fan. I
okay.
grew up in the front seat of a Peterbilt, so
Nice.
we had that was our main thing. Like we didn't have TV in the truck or any of that. We just had music. So I heard a ton of Bob Seger. Bob Seger is my dad's number one.
I love Bob Seger.
Yeah, and like my dad will physically fight you over Bob Seger. If you say something bad about Bob Seger, he will come to blows with you over Bob Seger.
Right.
Um, but Bob Seger, Ted Nugent, Bad Company, Triumph was a band that I idolized so much as a teenager because there was something about Rick Emmett singing and playing that was so
It was
different.
magic. It was
Yeah,
magic.
man, like that tone he had, and he could rip on guitar, but those notes he could sing, there were so few people who could do what Rick did at that time.
Yeah, I've seen them live 5 times, so I know.
Oh God, I've never got to see Triumph live, but that
I saw them in their prime 3 times, and it was like, wow.
yeah. And I've always said my dream, if I ever do a solo record, I've been asked, who's your dream producer? And I've always said Gilmore. I would love for Gil to come produce my record. And I know that will never happen, and I'm realistic in that sense, but
Never know, man.
yeah,
It felt
like
like
Gil's,
well,
he's
I
got
think Triumph are
such.
going to.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I said I think Triumph are going to tour soon, but
Yeah.
you never know. You can get Gilmore. It's not that inaccessible.
No, I mean he's got an amazing studio up there, and they've
Yeah,
produced
uh,
so many famous bands and so many of my favorite bands. He's one of those producers who you don't hear his name as a producer, but the bands he's produced. And that's the thing. Like he's very low key as a person and whatnot, but his production is immaculate. Like it's just always so on point.
right.
And he does so many different styles. And I guess that's the number one thing that draws me to him because I love country and I love hard rock and I love hip hop and I love blues. And if I ever did a solo record, I always made the joke I want to be the first artist that doesn't have a genre. Like, I want to be the first artist that just records whatever the fuck I want to record and you
Yeah,
never know. Like, I want to take the Queen concept and just completely
that,
put it on steroids, you
that's
know,
what you,
and like one time you may get a hip hop song, and then I may turn around and give you a metal song, followed by a blues song, followed by a reggae song. Like I want
just
to be the
making
guy that,
a record full of good music. That's it.
yeah, like I want to be that guy that just records what I love.
Yeah.
And I don't give a shit about record sales. I don't even, as an artist, I don't even care if people buy the music. I will put it online and you can have this shit for free. I just want
Right.
to get it out of my head. Like I've had these songs in my head for 15 years. I've got the lyrics written, I've got all the melodies written, and I've never just did it, and I don't know why. I just never have. And I sat down earlier last month and I said, you know what? 2023 is the year that I'm going to get all this shit put together and I'm going to put it out and just, it is what it is. If people hate it, people hate it. If people love it, people love it. I don't care if I make money. I just want these songs out of my head after 15 years of having them, I just, it's kind of like an exorcism almost, like I want to get these demons out of my head. So, um,
Gratitude, brother.
um, what are what are the plans going forward? Are you guys going to do some touring? Are you going to play any shows? Um, any other special stuff? Maybe people get a chance to come out and see you live or to hear music or um, any videos planned in the future, possibly from the record.
Okay, so we just finished a month ago our Tool to Die Young tour, which was
Oh, okay.
quite a bunch of shows in Canada over the last since April behind this record. We've released Million Miles, which is the fifth single off this record.
Oh, nice.
So we're taking a bit of a break now. We're going to release two more songs off this record. As that's happening, shows will start being announced for spring and summer of 223. And as far as I know, a brand new record will be dropped in September 223. Um, we are we just recorded two brand new songs that nobody knows about 2 weeks ago. Two brand new random songs, which came out really, really beautifully. But yeah, we're talking about making a new record, and that happens. We'll get into pre-production around April, and then during the summer we'll record the record and do it all again. We got some shows coming up. Nothing that I can mention now, but opening up for some big bands, and we're always talking about heading to Europe too, maybe at the end of next year. So a lot of shit's coming up. Um, just check our social media, and you'll know what's going on.
Awesome. I would definitely say if you get a chance to get over to Detroit, I would love to,
Oh,
you
we're
know,
coming.
Detroit Battle Creek. Flint, if you get to the machine shop, would be even more amazing because that's kind of my, that's my favorite place. And I
Okay.
recommend every band play the machine shop at least once in their life. I don't care what anyone says, the machine shop is the best rock club in the world. Um, you won't find a better club. You just won't. And I've been all over the world. I've been to shows in Japan, Thailand, the Philippines, the UK. I've been all over the US, and there is not another club that's better than the Machine Shop. Kevin is just, he's a badass when it comes to running that place. So, uh,
Wicked.
yeah, definitely. Shout out to Kevin Zink at the Machine Shop because, again, so many bands that I've seen there from Hank the Third to Anthrax to Colt Ford to Johnny Cash tributes to. I mean, Kevin brings everything in there, and it's just done so damn well. It's clean, it's safe. You can go there, and there's never any fights. You don't get mugged in the parking lot. The bathrooms are clean, which is always, as someone who's pissed in the bathrooms of CBGBs and Harpo's, I can affirm that having a clean bathroom is always a great sign for a club. Um, so yeah. Um, Tell everyone where they find you guys. Where do they find you on social media? Where do they find this record? Uh,
Uh,
is
for
there
Play,
vinyl available?
you can find the album through our RFL Records or through Amazon or any of the great other music outlets. You can find us on Facebook, Playhouse Rock Band, and Instagram. All the social media stuff is there. Or go to www.rockwithplayhouse.com, and that's where you can find us, man. We're everywhere.
Awesome. This is Peter. He is the lead singer of Playhouse. Again, the record, Dancing at Funerals. You could find this thing everywhere. If you get a chance to go see him live, definitely do that. Merch, check out their merch or anything they have, because as I've said in numerous other interviews, at the end of the day, merch is really a band's true lifeline. It's where they get their biggest cut of profits. It's where they get their biggest cut of the pie. So, not discouraging you from buying records or any of that, because they do make some money there, but merch is really where a band gets the biggest cut of their pie these days. So please support in that aspect. And I guess closing thoughts, anything else you want to kind of throw out or add, anything that I missed?
I just want to wish everyone out there happy holidays. Keep rocking, keep supporting local artists, keep supporting local clubs, keep supporting local DJs, podcasts. Just keep supporting original content, and rock on from Playhouse in Canada.
With that said, this is a Noize Report, and we're going to cruise out of here. As always, you know how we end this. Be well, treat each other with kindness. Or let me try that again. Be well, treat each other with kindness, and remember that music heals.